Ladies and gentlemen and all genders outside and in between, welcome to Thirsty Work, the all-new sex education podcast around sex, sexuality, and a little bit of hedonism. Tonight, my guest is the beautiful, the elegant Rebelnae. Ooh, it's Thirsty Work. Hello there, you spectacular specimens of humankind. Welcome to the home of hedonism, that is Thirsty Work. Tonight we're going to be talking about all kinds of sexuality, primarily I say all kinds of sexualities. We're going to be talking about bisexuality because that is the joyful sexuality of our wonderful guest today, the beautiful Rebelnae. Don't forget, friends, that if you would like to spend your channel points while you're watching live here, you can use your channel points to ask a question, and at the end of the podcast, we will be answering all of those questions, or at least a handful if we've got time to. But you're more than welcome to. But before we do that, people, let me bring on my wonderful guest, the beautiful Rebelnae. Hello, you glorious individual. How you doing?
Hi. I'm really excited.
You're really excited? I'm glad. I'm really glad. But before we go any further, would you like to introduce yourself to all of our wonderful viewers and listeners?
Sure. My name is Ellie. I'm a full-time veterinary student, and I foster dogs. I like to do a lot of cooking, and I play video games, and yeah, I'm bisexual.
And yes, I am also bisexual. This is true. And where can they find you?
I've been out as bisexual for 11 years now.
11 years. Ooh. Yep. Well, we'll get on to that momentarily. Before we do that, though, where can people find you?
Well, they can find me on Twitch at Rebelnae, or Instagram, which is Rebelnae TTV. Twitter as well, but I don't really use Twitter that much.
Your Twitter
mainly
is
Instagram and Twitch.
Yeah, I was about to say, your Twitter is hilarious, though. For the few times, every so often I just get like a little thing that pops up and I'm just like, oh, Rebelnae's posted. I'm just like, oh, okay. You have got all of the interesting conversations going on there.
Oh yeah, my Twitter is basically just screenshots of weird conversations I get, or like weird DMs from random men.
Random men. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I get it, because I also get the weird conversations, weird DMs from random men as well. So it's an interesting dynamic. It's an interesting dynamic. People as well. I'm Valen Vain. You know me by now. I'm not gonna go into the whole shebang, but we're gonna be talking about bisexuality, which is, by definition. Let me get the definition first. All right. Bisexuality, the quality or characteristic of being sexually attracted, not exclusively to people of one gender. So people that are romantically or sexually attracted to one or more genders, potentially including their own, etc., etc. And that is the definition of it, and the amount of drama that bisexuals have had since I was a young whippersnapper has been unreasonable. So, because I would imagine you get it yourself, Ellie, in you're just greedy. It's not a real sexual. Pick a side.
Yeah. Just pick a side. You're gonna, like, I don't know. People have asked if why I don't just come out as a lesbian. Like, am I scared to be a lesbian, or I'm straight, but I'm just trying to get the attention of men, or I just think it's fun to have threesomes, which I've never had one. I'm not against it, but that's not why I'm bisexual, you know?
That's a common thing, though. That is a full-on common thing where people say that they're bisexual, and suddenly, like, bisexuality seems to be an invitation for a certain type of, toxic men, where they're like, my girlfriend's a bisexual, which means threesomes are game on. And it's like, no, that is not what bisexuality is. Not an open invitation. There's nothing wrong with having threesomes. There's nothing wrong with, like, having romantic relations like that by any stretch of the imagination, but it is not like hey, you are not getting with this person because they're an open invitation to threesomes and stuff like that. by any stretch.
Yeah,
It's so
for sure.
strange. It's
It just
mind
puts
blowing
a
to
like
me.
a bad taste in my mouth when if I meet a guy and I tell him that I'm bisexual because I mean it's a big part of me, and he's like, "Oh, nice," and I'm like, "What do you mean nice? Like it's just a fact about me." And he's like, "Yeah, like you know, that's cool. Like
But I
I like
suppose
that."
like
I'm
that.
like, what do you mean? In what way? And then, the more you talk to them, it's like, oh, because you think we're gonna have a threesome. And I'm like, well, hate to break it to you, but not sure I want that
But
with you.
and also not sure that should not be uh like the first thing in somebody's mind. Do you know what I mean? It's like do you know what it's also kind of like? It's like when somebody turns around and says, and this again happens with toxic men more than anybody else. Someone turns around and goes, "Oh yeah, I'm gay," and they turn around and are like, "Oh well, don't get attracted to me. You stay away from me." Like, because automatically that person will be immediately attracted to you because they happen to be attracted to the same gender as themselves. Like, what the
That's happened to
what?
me too.
Like, what is that?
I
What?
don't understand it. It's like just because I'm attracted to men and women and other people, like it doesn't mean I'm attracted to everybody. It's like somebody who's straight isn't attracted to everyone of the opposite gender.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I don't
and
know.
that was always my argument with it. Is just like I'm not attracted to like a heterosexual person is not attracted to every single person of the opposite gender. And if you tried to say that to them, they freak out. Oh no, of course not. No, that's not a way. But the thing about bisexuality that I think is like mind blowing to me is the fact that every bisexual I know has been attacked from both sides, from the hetero side
Oh yeah,
and
for
the
sure, for sure.
LGBTQIA
There's a
side.
lot of biphobia within the LGBT community, unfortunately.
Like, what are your experiences? Like, what kind of thing?
Well, I've had lesbians who refused to date me just because I'm bisexual. There was one time I was on a dating app and I was chatting with a woman who is a lesbian, and she said that like, oh, you're pretty, but like it's kind of gross that you also date men,
What?
and
It it's kind of
yeah,
gross that you also date men.
yeah.
Okay. Like, yeah, but that blows my mind
But at the
because
same time,
surely,
like a lot of those women who like don't want to date bi women, they're at the same time being like, yeah, but I can turn straight girls, and it's like, hmm, can you though?
but
They're not
see,
really straight, are they then?
this is a really interesting point because I've definitely met a couple of and this is for all genders really, like a couple of lesbians, a couple of gay guys and stuff like that who somehow consider themselves to be like the elite of homosexuality because they've never been with another gender other than their own. Like they've only a lesbian's only ever
Yeah,
been with women, and therefore she is better than other lesbians that have potentially been with men when they were younger or
yeah, like a
something like that.
gold star lesbian.
Yeah,
Like, good for you.
like
You
what is
figured yourself
this?
out early. We didn't all.
And it just blows my mind, like the idea that that there's elitism within something that's meant to be so supportive. It's meant to be the LGBTQI is meant to be a supportive group where everyone builds each other up. Yeah, you can get toxic individuals and what have you, but you build each other up and you push forward for the equality and you push each other forward, and then they just like, oh yeah, well, yeah, I'm a better lesbian than you because I haven't seen a penis, or I'm a better gay man than you because I've never been near a vulva, or what? What? Where's the support? What? You
Yeah,
know?
I agree.
So, in regards to like, because we've had many conversations, because me and you go way back now. We're old school friends.
It feels like we've been friends for like 10 years, but it's only been like, what, a year and a half? 2 years?
Something like that. Something along those lines, yeah.
Yeah.
But we like talk all the time. We're
Yeah.
always
It's
chatting
nice.
away. And I
I
always find it
appreciate being
hilarious
able to
how,
chit chat with you.
yeah, I also found it hilarious how you originally stumbled across me.
Oh yeah. Cuz sometimes at the end of my streams I like to raid people that I don't know just because I don't know. I filter by the LGBT tag and I'm like, if they have that tag, they're going to be good enough. And so I was scrolling through, I think it was just the just chatting, and I saw your stream and I was like, that's interesting. I don't remember exactly what it was. I think you had like things on screen. I think you had like a BLM little thing up on the screen as well. And I was like,
Probably,
that
yeah.
seems like a pretty decent person. So we clicked on it. And I watched for maybe like 15 seconds or so before I decided to rate. And I was like, yeah, this guy seems pretty interesting. So we rated. And it was one of the best times, like the best rates we've ever had. I had like 6 or 7 people DM me afterwards being like, I love this guy. He's so cool. Like, I'm so glad you rated him. And that usually does not happen. I'll have like maybe one person who was like, yeah, I really like this person. It was cool that you rated them. Or thanks for rating such a small streamer, or whatever it is. Like sometimes like I've done something that they think is nice and they're like, oh yeah, I like that person. But yeah, it was like 6 or 7 people being like, yeah, I
I
like
can't
that one.
remember what the stream was, but I remember it being chaos. I remember being absolute chaos, and then me
I don't
like
remember
jumping
either.
over to yours and being like, "Oh my god, this person is like the most wholesome human being in the entire world." Yes, you are you naughty.
Wholesome with a chance of spicy.
Wholesome with a chance of spicy is a very good way of putting it. Explain to everybody like your plan, because you're a veterinary student to become a vet, but you're also really enthusiastic about content creation. I realize that this isn't bisexuality, but
No.
I still think that it's a very important part. You were talking about bisexuality being an important part of you. Talk about tell everyone about what your plan is, because it's the most wholesome thing I think I've ever heard on Twitch.
Well, yeah, so ideally, when I'm done veterinary school in about like 2.5 to 3 years, I would really like to work with animal shelters. I foster dogs from a shelter nearby, and I've been working with shelters ever since I was in high school, just like volunteering my time for them. And so shelter dogs have a really special place in my heart. And I know that veterinary services are, really expensive. And so if I'm able to make a comfortable living off of Twitch, I would really like to be able to volunteer my time as a veterinarian at an animal shelter, maybe like twice a week, go there to like go do checkups and spay and neuter and like do vaccinations and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would really like to do that.
Good lord, literally want to make money as a content creator so I can give free vet services to animal shelters.
I just think it'd be so like yeah, people when they hear that they're like, "Oh, like you're such a good person," but it would genuinely make me feel like I'm doing something important with my life and like I'm doing something good for animals, Like I love animals like to an obsessive amount. I just oh god, cuz like they can't, it's like children. Like they need us and we need to take care of them, and so like when people are mean to them, like I just want to punch them. So I don't know, I love animals so much.
I mean, I can see that. I can see that. It's just so wholesome. And the rest of us, you're there going, I want to do something important with my life. Like have some, and I'm like, I'm a bumblefuck of a human being, and I want to cause giggles and inappropriateness for sheer shit.
That's okay. Look, if everyone was like me, I feel like the world would be pretty boring. I mean, what I like about people is that we're all so different. And so if we were all the same,
If everyone was like you, we'd not be worrying about the prejudice against bisexuality.
it's true.
Because everyone would be bisexual. Everyone.
That would be great though. Imagine if everyone was bi. Oh God, what a world. I wouldn't have to worry about like if I'm talking to a woman, I wouldn't have to worry if I'm like making her feel uncomfortable, or like, is she complimenting me because she thinks I'm just pretty, or like, does she think I'm pretty? You know what I mean?
Well, okay, let's explore that a little bit, because that is something that is genuinely, and like I say, I've known quite a few bisexual people. They find it really easy to like hit on somebody that is not their own gender, but they find it really awkward to hit on their own gender.
Oh, I didn't know this was a bi thing, but I 100% agree with that. 100%. And I
What is
think,
it
oh God, this is going to
about
make
that?
me sound really bad. But I think from my personal experience, it's because men hit on me a lot. And so I feel very confident in the fact that, like, if I'm attracted to a guy, there's a high chance that he's going to be attracted to me. So if I go up and talk to him, I've never been rejected by a man. However, it's the opposite with women. Like 99% of the time when I hit on a woman, she's going to reject me. So it's really scary because I know that there's a high likelihood of me getting a rejection. And so I'm nervous, I'm scared, and I because of that, I think I'm not as smooth when it comes to talking to women, and I get like awkward and weird. So,
The self-confidence we love to see. However, just the idea of just being like, well, it's cool. If I go up to this person and hit on them because they're like because they're a man, there's a fair chance of it. It's cool. It's all right. It's all grand. But this person's a woman, and now the nerves. Behold
oh yeah.
the stumbling. Behold the tongue-tiedness.
Yeah, I don't know. It's psychological, but yeah. I think it's also because with men, I can kind of assume that most of them are going to be straight, whereas with women, I also have to figure out without like creeping them out, I have to figure out if they're interested in women at all, you know?
Why don't you just ask them?
That would be so uncomfortable.
Why?
Because what if they say no, I'm straight, and then it's like, oh, now they know that I'm attracted to them, and like, what if we're friends? And then it's like, oh, well, okay,
I have
that's
never had this issue. I'm just like, hey, how's it going? I'm really attracted to you. And they're like, cool, I'm not. And I'm like, cool, no worries. Like that's the be all end of the conversation. It's just like, cool, we continue being friends. It's all shits and giggles, all fun and games.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, when did you realize that you were bisexual?
I was about like 14 or 15. Um, and it was actually like one of my best friends who they kind of asked me if I'm bi, and I was like, no, 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 of course not. Because I grew up in a religious area in Pennsylvania where, you know, being gay or bi is seen as wrong. And so I was very, very much in denial for a long time about, you know, I shouldn't like girls, and the fact that I got butterflies around certain girls was like bad. And so there are diaries that I have from when I was like 13 or 14 of like I was like praying to God, being like, please make me straight. I really don't want to be bisexual. Like, I know you're doing this to test me, but please do something else. This is unbearable, blah, 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 blah. And thankfully for me, I had a couple of really, really, really supportive friends who were like, there's nothing wrong with you. It's fine. Like, don't worry about it. So I think I started to realize around 13 or 14, but it wasn't until I was 15 that I had like come to terms with it, and I started to like accept it for myself as being like a good thing and not something to be ashamed of. And so I started by telling my very, very closest friends, and they were all very supportive of me. Actually, one of them, she was super religious, super Christian, and like she made me cry when I told her because I told all of my other friends and she was the last one. And I brought all of my friends with me to tell her because I wanted emotional support. And she was super supportive in a way that I would not have thought because she's Christian. And she cried and she said that, you know, she felt sad that she had given me the impression that she would like stop being my friend or anything like that. Um, so yeah,
That
no,
happens quite a
it was
lot though.
great.
That like there is because I come from like a Catholic background. My parents are Catholic. My entire family's Catholic, and what have you. And I've definitely had like gay friends who are like, "Oh, I couldn't meet your parents because they're Catholic and they'll hate me." And I'm like, "My parents are awesome. My parents literally accept everybody for whoever they are." But that is a
Yeah,
common thing. Like it's just that whole because when you know somebody is very religious, there are preconceptions that there is going to be judgment there. There is going to be
for
judgment
sure.
there. And the thing is that it can also be like interestingly toxic judgment based on I've definitely met people before where they're like, I don't judge you for being gay, but you're going to hell. And I'm like, all right, okay, I see how that is. It's like it's not my place. Not my place.
Yeah,
But you're
that
going
is
to hell.
kind of judgmental though.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like,
you're
I don't
saying that
judge
I'm
you.
gonna burn in hell in it for eternity. Thanks.
So
Appreciate
you
that.
so
That's
you
very
really
Christian love of you.
realized as like hormones are kicking in and you were like, okay, I'm interested in guys. Oh, I'm interested because like you said you were in Pennsylvania, so you've traveled a
Mhm.
lot because I know that you live over in
Yeah.
Europe at the moment.
Yeah. I've done a good amount of traveling, which I'm very thankful for. My parents are big travelers, and they yeah, they just really prioritized getting to see the world, I
Which is a
suppose.
good thing. I mean, that certainly. But okay, so I was about to
But
say
when I
that.
was a child, I was really annoyed by it because we didn't have like regular Christmases because they would spend like Christmas present money on traveling. And I didn't appreciate it as much as I do now. Like now I look back and I'm like, man, I am so thankful that my parents took me to, different places. But at the time, when I was like 7, all I wanted was to have a Christmas like my friends had, like at home with, a tree and presents and like tradition and whatnot. And
Did you find that
I was
affected?
not
Because
as
you literally just said about
grateful.
having like really supportive friends and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Do you find that affected the way like your sexuality manifested because you can only know friends for a certain length of time, or did you know them for long enough that it didn't really matter, or do you just gel with people quite well?
Mm. Well, those friends I'd known since I was about 10, so we'd been friends for maybe like 5 years, which when you're a child is a pretty long time.
Oh yeah,
Um,
perspective is great.
but the thing is, I made all of my friends promise not to tell anyone because there was another girl at our high school who had come out as bisexual, and people were so ruthless and mean to her. They would call her really rude things in the hallway, and I'd heard people saying stuff to her, and I didn't want that for myself. And I mean, I don't know, you can I mean, you still call me wholesome, but like when I was in high school, I tried my very best to be like the epitome of like a good Christian girl. Like I was, very like innocent and sweet looking all the time, and I did not want anyone to, call me a whore or whatever
Yeah,
that they were calling her just because she's bisexual. Um,
because
and
that's another
so, yeah, I
preconception.
just
Is
hid it.
I was about to say that is another preconception that a lot of people have is the fact that if you're bisexual, you are shagging everybody. You are literally
Yeah,
having sex with every human being you come across, male, female, non-binary, whatever the gender, they are in your pants.
yeah,
That
exactly. I've
oh,
only
it's
been sexually intimate with one person, so not quite fulfilling that stereotype.
okay. Let's open that up though, because you say like you've only been sexually intimate with one person, but I
Yeah.
know, having had the colorful lifestyle that I have had, that
Hmm.
there is a lot of like we've talked about like the victimization from hetero people. We've talked about the victimization from the homosexual people, but also within bisexuality there is also victimization of the idea of you've been taking you for an example, you have been intimate with one person, therefore you can't be bisexual.
Oh God. Yeah, I've definitely heard that too. I didn't know exactly where you were going with that, but yeah, that's for sure happen. Which is bullshit. Like somebody who's a straight man is gonna know that he's straight without having had sex with a woman. Like you're like people never question like a 17-year-old boy who's, says that he's straight. But if you're bisexual, like, oh, you have to try it before you can know that you like it. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure I know what gets me going. I don't
Yeah.
have to I don't have to actually be intimate with somebody to know that I'm attracted to them.
And that's a really important part as well, because the idea of like if you're in a relationship with a woman or a relationship with a man or a relationship with a non-binary person, like it that doesn't stop you from being bisexual. And that seems like something that has to be repeated constantly. Like you are
Yeah.
still a valid bisexual despite the fact that if you are in a monogamous relationship with somebody or other, you are still a bisexual. You don't
Yeah.
suddenly become straight when you are dating somebody that is not your own gender. You don't suddenly become gay when you are dating somebody that is your gender. Like, it seems so mind-blowing when you actually, like, lay it out and be like, okay, yeah, cool. So your sexuality depends on the person that you're sleeping with? Is that the way
Well,
this works?
I think it's because people have this weird idea that being bisexual is like a stepping stone, and like that, once I figure myself out, I'll know if I'm straight or gay. And like bisexual isn't real because it's just a term you use because you're too scared to come out as a lesbian. So if I'm dating a woman, like, oh, good for you, like you finally know you're a lesbian. Or if I'm dating a man, it's like, oh, that was a fun little hoe phase for you, but now you're straight again. Good for you. It's like, no, I'm still bisexual.
Also you've just touched on a massive point there, that the idea of like the hoe phase.
Oh God, yeah. It's like sleeping with women isn't like a bad thing, Like there's nothing like dirty or wrong with it. So I don't know.
But I think what it really comes down to is what we've talked about a few times, are like the idea of like patriarchy, and the idea that lesbians are only lesbians for men because naturally that is the only way they could ever be lesbians. Heaven forfend they
everything is
actually
for
care.
men.
You saying?
I was just saying, yeah, because everything we do is for men.
Of course it is. Like, why would it be? And it's so mind-blowing to me, like the amount of times I've been on a night out, and I've said mind-blowing a lot today, but it turns out that bisexuality turns to blow my mind, it seems, the subject of. Like, you go on a night out and you'll be there and
blow people and minds.
Blow people and minds. There's the wholesome with the hint of spicy right there. There it is. little hint of spicy. Like the idea of like going out on a night out, and I'm with a couple of lesbian friends of mine, we're all having a good time, we're all partying and what have you, and a guy comes over and he's like, I can, like, either I can fix you or I can convert you. And it's just like, what the where did this come from? Who are you, and why do you think this is a thing? Like, what is that all about? But I can imagine it's worse for bisexuals because of the fact that, like, all of the preconceptions that we've just talked about, the idea that bisexuals are up for sleeping with everybody, the idea that bisexuals are always game for a threesome, the idea that like men are suddenly or the specifically the toxic men that we were previously mentioning are specifically interested because of the fact that, like, you are there for their gratification. Like, you're there because it means that they can have a threesome with you, or like it makes you slightly more, I don't know, exotic or something. Like, it's so strange. Have you had much experience of that?
Not as much, but I've definitely heard of it being a big problem. I was gonna say something and then I forgot.
That's all right. That's all right. We can always bring it back, because the thing is that there is the other side of it. There is the other side of it, which is because of that reputation that bisexuals have, regardless of the fact that it's completely unfounded, a completely unfounded reputation of them sleeping around, of the fact that they're always game for a thing, of the fact that they're greedy or they're still just trying to find themselves. Like, there is the other side of it where, especially younger people, and I remember being one of those younger people at one point, where people would say they were bisexual to seem more interesting. Which was a really interesting.
I don't think I've ever met other people who have said that they were bi to be more interesting. But I think what I was gonna say was, when it comes to like straight men, I run into a few straight men who they seemed like they were cool with bisexuality,
Mhm.
but it turns out that, you know, they were fetishizing women who are bisexual. And in the same vein, they also thought that like a guy being bisexual is like really disgusting, but a woman being bisexual is super hot. And then it's like, you say that you're like, you know, supportive of bisexuality, but in reality, you're not at all.
Yeah, and there's also the flip side of that where you can get guys are that will happily sleep with like they will have a threesome where they are friends and they will sleep with the same girl at the same time, but they're like, but it's okay because we're as long as I remember the phrase, it's not gay if balls don't touch.
I thought you were gonna say if you keep your socks on.
If you keep, it's not gay if you keep your socks on. I mean that is certainly a way of doing. It's not gay if you keep your socks on. It's fine. But I remember it's like it's not gay if balls don't touch. So you can get as many different heterosexual men in the same room at the same time, but so long as they don't like, as long as their genitalia doesn't touch each other, it's fine. And it's just like, oh, okay. Like, how are you so unbelievably comfortable with that idea, but not comfortable with the idea of a bisexual man?
Yeah.
No, it's mind blowing.
Yeah, that's a good question. Because like even if they were to accidentally touch genitals, like that doesn't necessarily mean that they're attracted to the same gender. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, 100%, 100%, and it's yeah. I think it's all very interesting. Going back onto the point of the idea of people that do it for attention. I know that I remember very clearly a friend of mine that got well and truly heartbroken because she was getting very friends. She went to a party. In fact, we were all there. Went to a party and she's bisexual herself, and she was getting on really, really well with this girl, and they ended up like making out and doing all kinds of bits and pieces and what have you, and things were heating up and it was great. And then the girl like suddenly like stopped everything and it was like, yeah, not a problem, like consent, obviously most important thing going on. And she was like, I don't understand like what I did wrong. Everything was going well, like now she's not speaking to me, now she's not like talking to me, she's avoiding me in every way, shape or form. I'm not understanding like what happened. And basically what it came down to was the fact that this girl, after a long time of finding out what was going on, this girl was basically doing it to grab the attention of a certain guy. Like, she was well and truly playing my friend because she was like, I'm not bisexual, but I wanted to grab this guy's attention, and I knew that like lesbianism did it for him, and it was just like, that's like so
It's
not
fucked up
okay.
on so many levels.
So not okay.
Like what she did is fucked up. The fact that a guy would like be like fetishizing sexuality is also fucked up, and like the manipulation and all of that is just no. And also, it makes bisexual people look bad because it's not true. That's not like we're not doing it for attention. Like I like boobs and I like all kinds of stuff, and
Suddenly
it is
Ellie
not
goes
for attention.
shy. Yeah, you like all the kinds of stuff, but you don't do it for attention.
Yeah.
And
No,
I get
of course
that.
not.
I get that. Do you get it much as because obviously your content creation career is well and truly on the rise, which is great to see. Absolutely great to see. Do you find that you get a lot of people accusing you of being bisexual for the views, for the fame, for that side of things?
Mm, no, I wouldn't say a lot. I think my community is very wholesome, and I think a lot of the people um, in my community are either like just super supportive or they're part of the community themselves. And so, no, especially ever since I started forcing people to like verify their email before they show up in chat. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've not really had that much of a problem with that. Yeah, no, has not really been a problem, thankfully.
That's really good. That's encouraging to know. Because I mean, I have the LGBTQI tag on. I never really disclose my sexuality because, first of all, I don't even know. I just am attracted to people, and second of all, like,
Fair.
it's not really anybody else's business. Like, what I like in the nicest way possible. It's not like I'm ashamed of it. I just don't really care enough to warrant thingies. But you are very open and proud about it. That you've got the rainbow flag behind you. I remember you
Yes.
getting the rainbow flag and being so unbelievably excited about it. For those people that are listening to the podcast, Ellie currently has the bisexual flag as eyeshadow currently.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. It looks fantastic. It looks absolutely amazing.
I figured it was fitting, and my flag is 3.5 meters by 1.5 meters. It's huge. I love
That
it.
is huge. It's not your only
It's
one.
like one of my favorites.
You've got another one, as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I have a little one. The little one, oh wait, it's over there. The little one I have is actually, it's a bit sentimental to me because I bought it at my first ever Pride. So I've only been to
That's
Pride
great.
once,
That's
and I bought
fantastic.
it there, and I was very happy about it. So
I love that. I love that. Okay, so
I would love to go to Pride again, but like I feel like I'm like the only queer person who doesn't have a bunch of other LGBT friends in real life. Pretty much all of my friends are straight. And I wish I had more friends who were also openly not straight. Because I feel like there's still like a part of me that has to like act, I don't know. I'm still myself, but I feel like with other queer people, I can be, I don't know. It's hard to explain because I just feel like when I'm around straight people, I have to be a little bit more like straight passing, or I have to act more the way that people would expect me to. That I wouldn't have to. When I went to Pride, I experienced feeling like, oh, people are not going to judge me here in a way that I fear straight people might.
Yeah, I get that on a slightly different level. In the regards that, as you well know, I'm a very flamboyant individual, excessive 101, like, but there's definitely certain groups of friends where I don't like dress normal in inverted commas, but I certainly
Yeah.
dress down a bit when I'm around them because I don't want to make them feel awkward by me being so excessive. And
Yeah.
so
And it's
I
also
do
the
feel that.
stereotype of like queer people all like, oh, they always talk about sex and they always talk about their sexuality and they don't have a personality other than that. And so I tried to like, I don't know, not talk about it as much. And I think a lot of people assume that I'm straight.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Is
Which
that
is not
because
necessarily a problem, except for the fact that like I want other people to know in case they're also part of the LGBT community. But I do have like subtle symbols and whatnot. Like on my backpack, I have a little pride heart, and I have like some jewelry and stuff that have like rainbows and stuff on them.
little subtle
I feel like
symbols?
if you know, you know. Like I feel like somebody who's queer is gonna be like, "Oh, rainbow, rainbow, rainbow. Okay, cool." Whereas somebody who's straight is just like not gonna notice it. I
Interesting.
think.
Could this be down to the, like you were saying about the awkwardness of like hitting on people of your own gender? Is that down, like, could there be a bit of the whole, well, I'm trying to pass it straight, and that adds to the, are they gay, are they interested, are they potentially now I don't understand this, because
Maybe. Not sure. I do try to mention that I'm bisexual somewhere in a conversation. If I'm talking to a woman that I find attractive, I'll like be like, "Oh yeah, whatever," because I'm bi or whatever it is. Um, to like see what her reaction is gonna be. But I don't know. Could be. I guess that I don't know.
The preconceptions of needing to feel like you're acting more heterosexual because of the people you're with.
Yeah. Maybe. I hadn't really thought about that. Essentially.
There we go.
But I think it's the
Interesting.
biggest thing is just like fear of rejection.
Fear of rejection. You see, that's definitely where I'd just rather get the rejection out the way. I'm like, here's a question: is the answer yes or no? Like, I'm interested in you. Are we going yes or no? And they're like, actually, no, that's a no. And I'm like, cool, no worries. Moving swiftly on.
Yeah, but I would be worried that she would be like uncomfortable around me or think that I'm like, I don't know, like checking her out or like, I don't know. I don't want to make other people uncomfortable. And so,
An interesting concept. But if you always worry about what other people are feeling, then you'll never get anything done ever.
true.
You know what I mean?
That's what happens.
That is what happens. I never actually get anything done ever. So you're like openly very loud and proud about being bisexual.
Yeah.
What was it
very
like
much so.
coming out for you?
Well, I didn't have like a big moment of like, here I am, I'm out now. It was more of like a gradual process of, like I said, I started by telling my close friends, and
Mhm.
then I told my parents and my sister, and then I told my other siblings. And after that, like my mom is not very good at keeping a secret. So after I told my mom, like the rest of the family found out, which was also kind of nice because I didn't have to tell them and people just like knew. Um and then yeah, I think cuz I started coming out when I was around 15, and then throughout the years by the time I was, senior in high school, like my last year in high school, um I think a lot of people knew. Um, and that's when I got a little bit more comments from people. Like I remember one time I was in the locker room. We were about to have gym class, and there were three girls that were like laughing and giggling, and they were like side eyeing me, like looking at me. Um, and a friend of mine told me after the class that they were like making fun of me for being bisexual, and um you know joking about how like, oh, she's gonna come out as gay one day, and when we go to the 10-year reunion, she's probably gonna have like chopped her hair off, she's probably gonna be fat and be a lesbian, and whatever it was. And I don't know, it's just like I was still in the process of like trying to fully accept myself because I was still a teenager. I was still, like I valued um the opinions of other people a lot more than I do now. I still want people to like me, but when I was, 17, 18, like it really mattered what my friends thought of me. And so to have people that I thought were kind of cool, like be making fun of me for something that I couldn't change, like it was really painful.
And okay, how do you feel about that now that you are older and
Oh,
more?
now I don't give a fuck.
Now you don't give a
Like,
fuck.
like if I do not care about what anybody else thinks about like any preconceived notion or idea that somebody has about me because I'm bisexual. Like, if that's the kind of person they are, that they're judging me because of something I can't change, they're not somebody I want in my life anyway. Like I don't care anymore. But when I was 17 or 18, yeah, it really did hurt, And I think there's a big difference between like random trolls on the internet saying like, I don't know, whatever they say, as opposed to somebody really close to me in my life if they were to say it. But thankfully, most of the people in my life um, have been supportive. So
Been
I've been
supportive
pretty
and
lucky.
accepting, which is what we like to see. And this is definitely something that I try and hammer in as often as possible. Is especially to people that are quite young and still discovering themselves and so like that. It's they people worry about the opinions of other people, and at the end of the day, it just doesn't matter. Like, yeah, the more that you learn about yourself and the more that you grow as a person, the more you start to realize who your real friends are, and that those real friends aren't there, like, they won't judge you. And if they do judge you, they're not your real friends.
Oh yeah,
And
for sure. I agree.
the shit ones fade away and the strong ones stay true, and you get to a point and you're just like, you know what, why the fuck did I ever care about that? Why did I ever
Yeah.
care? It's
Yeah, because like if the best thing they can do is to like make fun of you for something that you can't change, like they don't have anything better to make jokes about, like that they have no sense of humor.
and also like the fact that their only material is to go into stereotypes.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to be a lesbian, so naturally, let's go to the stereotype where you're going to cut all your hair short. You're going to do the. Oh, for God's sake, just really? Do you have no imagination? At least make it bloody interesting if you're going to try and pick on me. Good Lord. You know? Wow. That's mind blowing. So, in all, friends, you are still valid as a human being bisexual. You are completely and utterly valid. And as we said before, the definition is that you are attracted to your own gender and another, maybe multiple genders therein. There is no specific realm that, like, one of the important things in regards to specific definitions in the LGBTQIA is that bisexuality is an umbrella term for a lot of other sexualities that do also fit into that. We've talked pretty briefly before about like pansexuality and polysexuality and sexual fluidity, I believe, is another one that I've recently come across. But like I think one of the important things to say is that regardless of labels, you know yourself. You do not need to fit into a label. Like, the label can help you discover yourself. The label can really help you identify with other people and find common grounds with other people, but it's not a defining feature. By being bisexual, you do not have to be attracted to every single human being and desperately want them to get in your pants and be well up for threesomes and be there specifically for the toxic male gaze. Like that, that isn't a requirement, you know? Okay.
For sure. I agree.
Are you ready for some questions?
Oh yeah, yes.
Because time 100%. Has flown once again.
You were worried we weren't going to have enough to talk about.
Yeah, I genuinely did. And you know what? I'm literally looking at my
like
list of
4
things.
hours at a time.
Yeah, I'm literally looking at my list of things right now, and I'm like, we have covered maybe 3 of the points that I have listed down about. Never mind. Anyway, so moving on. So from the podcast questions that have come in from the chat here that are watching this live, the live recording. It is so terrible that people just assume bisexuality just means overly sexual. It is fundamentally wrong and so offensive. As a pansexual man, people just assume the same. Ellie, you are always such an inspiration, and I'm so excited to see you on the podcast. I mean, I thought there was a question there, but there was no question.
Thank
there was
you.
just
You're so sweet.
Just a statement of support for you there, Ellie, you beautiful individual. A not so serious question. To follow the memes, are you a finger gun pansexual, a plaid shirt finger gun bisexual, a plaid shirt bisexual, or I can't sit on the chair straight bisexual?
All of the above. The fact that you're asking a bisexual and asking me to choose one is offensive. all of the above. I was actually looking around to see if I had a plaid shirt laying around because I was wearing one earlier today. But yeah, I do like a plaid. I have one of my emotes is literally finger guns because it's fun. And my back is in pain a lot because I sit like a fucking frog on chairs all of the time, except for when I'm streaming. Because if I sit like this, like it's.
For those listeners, she's gone into a cross-legged position. Looks very like pseudo yoga-esque.
Yeah. It's it doesn't look as good aesthetically when I'm on stream.
And that's the way you do. I don't even care. I'm sat here with my knee right by my chin most of the stream, but it's fine, you know. Love that. Love that. Serious question. How do you feel your bisexuality relates to trans people? Is it more gender representation, physical parts, both, or neither?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think
That's a
we were
good
talking a
question.
little bit about kind of similar things before stream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something I think is very uh, annoying is that some people assume that because I'm bisexual, that means that I'm transphobic and I don't want to date non-binary people, which is not the case for me at all. Um, and I I don't really care about like if somebody is had surgery or not, or their own hormones or whatnot. Um, if they're hot, they're hot. And, you know, whatever the genital situation is, I'm probably going to be happy either way. You know? So,
Perfect. Perfect. I love it. If you're hot, you're hot. Whatever the general situation, I will be happy either way. Oh
yeah,
wow,
probably.
that is such a selling point for
Oh,
bisexuality right there.
yeah.
Brilliant. Oh my god. Because this is a thing. This is like a thing in regards to, because you've mentioned this before to me, that like you have been accused of being transphobic because you're bisexual and not pansexual,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is the first I have ever heard of this. Like the idea
Oh,
that,
really?
yeah,
It's happened to me more than once.
I have never come across this concept. Like the fact that if you're pansexual, you are suddenly accepting of all trans people, and if you're bisexual, you are transphobic. What?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me, but yeah. It hurts a little bit, because I try to make it very obvious, especially on stream, that I try to be as inclusive as possible, and I want people to feel welcome. And I I would really hate for anybody who is trans or non-binary to think that just because I identify as bisexual and not pansexual, that I, you know, don't support them or anything
Just
like
for
that.
our listeners, we're not going to go too deeply into the pansexuality side of things. The difference between bisexuality and pansexuality. Bisexuality, as we talked about earlier, is a romantic attraction, sexual attraction, or sexual behavior towards all the genders, about regardless of gender. Pansexuality. Okay, let me rephrase that. Bisexuality is attraction to people of all genders. That's bisexuality. God, I'm getting words mixed up. This is the thing. Bisexuality is attraction to people of all genders. Pansexuality is attraction to people regardless of gender. We're not gonna dig deeper into it than that. I'm sure we'll have another episode on pansexuality and we can dig further into that side of things. But for the clarity here, there is no, like, you are not transphobic if you are bisexual. You are not like transphobic if
I
you
mean,
are.
I guess somebody could be, but like
Yeah,
by definition, like just because you're bi doesn't mean you're
yeah,
transphobic,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
I mean, you can get bigoted people in every group,
Yeah,
regardless
I
of
mean,
what
have
that
you
group
seen
is.
those people that are trying to start groups that are like the LGB communities, and like don't want to have the T as being part of it?
Yes, yes, I have.
My God.
Unfortunately, there are a lot
It makes
of
me
them.
so mad.
But, well, the thing is that I think there is an extreme version of every letter within the LGBTQIA plus, and there is always going to be extreme versions of every group therein. I definitely came across some people just before the pandemic where they were very adamant that they wanted to get the L out of LGBTQIA because they didn't feel that the LGBTQIA movement was doing enough for lesbians. So it does seem that there are extreme versions of all people, and you can, like, that's a topic for another time for sure. But it's so mind blowing to me that there is this is meant to be an area of support, an area of pushing people together and providing equality. And there are still people within the LGBTQIA, who are still trying to tear each other down. Gatekeeping, elitism, it has no place in the LGBTQIA for me personally. It has no fucking place. Like, build each other up. Let's get a world where everyone is bloody equal before we start nitpicking. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Mind blowing to me. Did you find it harder to hit on female presenting people? In my experience, guys get that you're trying to pick them up straight away, whereas girls automatically assume you're complimenting them or just being nice. Okay, so there's one. When you are hitting on a girl,
for sure.
They just think that you're being nice.
That's the thing. Like, I've had women who have told me, you know, your boobs look great in that shirt. Like, those jeans make your ass look really good. You're so hot. You're so gorgeous. You're so pretty, whatever. And then when I've tried to like ask them out on a date or try to like hit on them, they're like, what are you doing? I'm straight. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Thanks. And it's so confusing for me sometimes because I don't know. Straight women are just, they are way more comfortable being, I was gonna say intimate with each other, which no, not that, but just being like, yeah, like complimentary, and they're okay with like cuddling each other and hugging and not having it be sexual. Whereas like guys are not going to be that way around women. So I don't know. I think it's just like the line is just very like, for men it's like drawn in the sand of like, these are things you do if you're attracted to a woman, and these are things you wouldn't do if you were not attracted to them. Whereas with women, it's like there are a lot of things that you could still do if you're just friends, like complimenting each other. Yeah. So it makes it a little bit more confusing.
I suddenly feel very out of place on account of the fact that I flirt with everybody. That's just a way of my existence, you know.
That's nice though.
Oh, this is an interesting one. Well, like we'll do one more. Oh, hold on. Let me read. Okay. For the last one, for those people that are listening that have put their things in there, I will refund all of your points to make sure that you get all your points back and what have you. But we are unfortunately running out of time on account of the fact that this is a podcast and it needs to be like an hour long. So for my sheer entertainment, the biggest compliment you would like to pay to the person that you've been chatting with. You've been chatting with me. Come on, let's go. I'm ready.
Oh man. Oh, there's so many things that I could compliment you for about you, or
naturally
give you as a compliment. I think something that's absolutely incredible about you is how open-minded and understanding you are of other people, and your ability to like, yeah, you're just very, yeah, you're just very kind, and you are able to relate to other people in a way that most people are not. And yeah, I think this, yeah.
Damn it, I need to work on being more nasty. That is what it is. God, my reputation is being ruined right now. That's great. I will play fair as well. Biggest compliment I could give you, other than the wholesomeness we talked about earlier, I think that your approach to we talk about open-mindedness. You have a very, very, very wholesome open-mindedness in the fact that you are always willing to learn. You are willing to be wrong and be corrected and push yourself further as a human being by being wrong. You're just like, I'm wrong. Cool. Now I know better. Let's push ourselves forward. But you do that with your entire community as well. So you go, cool. Now we've all learned together. Let's push ourselves forward together. Let's make ourselves better. And there is a vulnerability to being wrong on the internet, and there is a vulnerability to being that open about it, especially on the internet as a content creator. And I think that your willingness to be that vulnerable whilst also maintaining a strength that is just beautiful to behold. Also, like, I'm just going to slide in there as well the fact that you get hilariously filthy when you feel slightly awkward. And you just throw out some of the filthiest things. Everything's going right. You start, oh, it's really wholesome and beautiful and fantastic. And then suddenly some absolute gutter filth comes out of Ellie's mouth. And then you giggle. Then you giggle. Like, oh, I should have said that. Oh. The
thing is, I say it to myself a lot. And then I'm just like, nope, don't say it out loud. Just keep it to yourself. And then sometimes, especially because I feel like people in chat can tell when I've said something, because I start like, I have to hold in a laughter, and then they're like, just say it, and I'm like,
I'm not gonna lie to you,
saying it, and then I say it.
Ellie, you have,
but I really appreciate that.
The worst poker face. You have the worst poker face. Your poker face is awful. Because you'll sit there and you'll think about it, and you're like, and you'll cover your mouth and you'll go all shy and bashful, and you're like, I can't say that on the internet. That will be there forever. And that is it. That is like the whole shebang there. Right, people, that's where we're going to have to end it. I'm afraid that is where I'm going to have to end it. So, friends, thank you very much for joining us. I would like to say a massive thank you to the beautiful Kate Sway for doing the intro. A massive thank you to Alexander Devenport for doing the background for the VOD here, and a massive thank you to Mountain Goat for doing the intro music. An amazingly huge thank you to my wonderful guest, the beautiful Rebelnae, aka Ellie. Ellie, could you please
thank you for having me?
Yeah, I'm more than welcome. Very, very happy to have had you, Cheeky. I'm very happy to have had you as a guest. Better be very clear about that with your bisexual reputation. Could you please tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitch. My username is just Rebelnae, so twitch.tv/Rebelnae. Also on Instagram at RebelnaeTTV, and Twitter, which I think is also... No, Instagram is Ellie Rebelnae, and Twitch is RebelnaeTTV. The fact that just Rebelnae was taken on so many different platforms is very upsetting to me.
Okay, I'm just going to correct you there because I did all the social posts beforehand. It's Rebelnae, twitch.tv/Rebelnae. On Instagram, it's Ellie Rebelnae. And on Twitter, it's RebelnaeTTV.
Yeah. There we go.
There you go.
You got it more than me.
Beautiful. I've been Valen Vain, your wonderful host. Yes, I am wonderful. It's just the way it is. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Valen Vain. You can also find me on pretty much every social media at Valen Vain. Thank you very much for listening, you beautiful individuals.